read here of Harry Hardwick of Cage Warriors, who's coming off a victory against Jean and Doi at Cage Warriors 124 last weekend. First of all, congratulations on the win, Harry, mate.
Thank you very much.
My first question for you is, at the end of the fight, you kind of looked a bit dejected at the decision. I just wondered why that was. Did you feel like you didn't perform in the way that you wanted to perform in that fight?
Well, I didn't have any idea how to score it, really. And I think it was just because I poured that much effort into the fight. Like my testosterone and my blood sugar and everything might have been in like fucking minus numbers. So I was just tired, really. I was just really tired.
Yeah.
And then it was like when the decision was being read and the guy said 30-27, because I knew I'd been dropped in the first round. So I thought, oh, I must have lost the first round. That must mean he's got it. Oh, no, wait, I dominated the second round. I was just confused. I was tired. I was confused. I wanted to lie down and they wouldn't let me have a lie down. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand that because, like, really, it's just a clear 29-28, really, wasn't it? You clearly won the last two, and you should have really got the first one because of a knockdown. So I can see why you think you lost after getting a 30-27.
Yeah, like, I can see how, like, because the knockdown was the most significant thing that happened in the first round. But I was winning the rest of the first round for the most part. So looking back, I can see how there's a 30-27. But at the time where it's like, I'm in the fight, I'm not scoring it, I'm fighting, I'm tired. I've just got a really heavy left hook and my brain's probably not in its best, in the best of condition. So like I didn't fucking know anything. I was just tired. I really did just want to lie down. Like there was the point where I was walking around with my arms up, and I was just doing that because that's what you're supposed to do in a close fight. I'd have happily just laid on the floor.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You did say in the Cage Warriors like pre-fight hype video, I'd say, that you just want to make it a horrible fight, basically, and that at the end of it, you're going to feel like shit, and he's going to feel like shit. Is that something that you try and do with all of your fights? You know you can just outgrind your opponent, and that's how you're going to get your victories?
Yeah, I should probably stop doing that.
Please don't. Don't. It's sick.
Yeah, true. I'd been on a bit of a Matt Brown binge as well because he'd managed to win a fight, despite being 40. So it was like, I probably shouldn't binge watch Matt Brown's prime before my own fights because it might have had a bit of an influence. But yeah, the pre-fight stuff, I was scary accurate on what I said, really. I do need to, like, there's a few things I'm going to adjust, and it's the focus on the next fight is just dominating whoever the fuck it is. Because that kind of fight's not good for your health.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's gonna let you have a very, very long career doing that, but I'll tell you what, it's very entertaining.
Yeah, I'm aware of how entertaining it is, but it's not healthy. Lots of things are entertaining, but not healthy.
Are you trying to almost like live up to the Diaz brothers moniker of like you and your brother George?
You see, his fight was entertaining, but he didn't take a load of damage and
Yeah.
he wasn't like laid on the floor exhausted afterwards. So he was he was actually like worse off from cornering my fight than he was from doing his own fight. Like after my fight, because it's just how uppy downy he was, he ended up like collapsing in the warm room afterwards and just like laid on the floor, starfished.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's just because I have good endurance for some reason. Like I don't know if it's like a genetic thing or just the fact that I'm skinny or something. But I have good endurance, so it's an advantage that I need to press. But I just need to find smarter ways to press that advantage. I mean, to be fair though, the fight did go very according to plan, other than a few hiccups here and there, like letting him crack me with that left hook and stuff. Like I didn't really get smashed a huge amount in the rest of the fight, so I don't know. I need to like watch it and take more positives from it or something, but it's just like I'm still sort of processing it a little bit.
Yeah. So when you move on for your next fight, you almost want to be I don't know, more cautious with like the way you preserve your energy?
I mean, it'll depend on the matchup as well. Like, and Doi, you know, he's a very tidy, powerful striker. With, you know, after what happened to him in Bellator in Paris, he's like takedown defense and his scrambling is like really leveled up, and it'd have been hard, and it'd cost probably more energy to try and like hold him down and really commit to the takedowns and stuff. So the plan was to make it quite scrappy with him, and to drive a high pace and a high volume, and then just not use the takedowns and the takedown attempts to necessarily ground him and put him in a bad spot. You know, if that came, but just use them to win the exchange, and for me to not use as much energy as him in each of the exchanges. So like there was a certain degree of the plan being that, like, I'm a bit overly critical of it, you know, but it a lot of the game plan did come through. Well, it'll just depend on the opponent. You know, some opponents that can actually be the right approach. Maybe someone else. We'll see. I think it's like just hardwired into me to have entertaining fights. I don't know what my problem is, but so whatever happens, I'll probably have an entertaining fight. But yeah, maybe not getting dropped in the first round. It's probably a good thing. I mean, it was the first time that's happened as well, so it's like that good wake up call where it's like, all right, my chin's not invincible. You know.
Yeah. You do have a hell of a chin though. Like you took some, even after that first left hook, and you didn't even seem like that rocked by it. You took a load more in the fight because you seemed to just get up right away and you were right with it. Like, how were you after that first knockdown?
Oh, it's so, like, the whole thing was so strange, like, because it's hard to know what it's like when you watch it on telly, because everyone's seen fucking knockout compilations and fights where people have got dropped and stuff, but it's like, it's weird. I don't know. Like, I remember stepping in to throw right hand, and then you go from feeling like standard levels of fight fatigue and discomfort and unpleasantness to feeling nothing at all for like a split second. And that split second, it's almost like a relief. It almost felt, I wouldn't say nice, but it's like it sort of dialed down the levels of like fight pain and fatigue and stuff. And then there's like stuff seemed to play in the wrong order, and then like a vague recollection of me doing it, my ass hitting the floor and doing a technical lift. And then like I didn't really realize I'd been dropped, so I try and swing back and I throw this big left hook that like throws myself way out of position, and I'm sort of realizing I'm facing the other side of the cage now. And then as I start circling, I'm like, oh, I think I've been dropped there. Like that must have been what's happened.
Yeah.
But I was pretty fine straight away. Like in the sequence afterwards, I managed to like slip a punch and parry a punch and then take the sting out of another left hook. And then he kicks me in the penis, which was pretty horrible.
That was useful though. That was good. You wanted to be kicked there.
No, you don't want to get kicked there. Look, there's no circumstances where it's a good thing.
Not even if you're going to take a few minutes to have a break. Are you sure?
No, like really, it was still shit. Like, yeah, it's not like, oh, I'm glad I've been kicked in the dick. It's like, no, that's horrible. I hope that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And then, I took a look and seen him breathing quite heavily, so I didn't really even use my rest for it, really. I just thought,
yeah, you only took about 20 seconds, didn't you?
I just thought I need to get back into it. I don't know if I've just got like a really short attention span, or like I'm just impatient. I don't know if that's where the fighting style comes from. But yeah, because he'd used a lot of energy, and the plan was to drive a pace in him and gas him out and make him tired. So I was like, I couldn't be taking a long break. And then there was like, I knew my head was sound by this point. I didn't have any like loss of balance. My vision was fine. Everything was fine. So I thought, fuck it, I need to get on him again.
Yeah. Probably another main takeaway from the fight was your stare down as he was walking in and you were in the cage and you were just looking at him like an absolute psycho and waiting for him to look away. What what was that all about? It was pretty intimidating. I kind of understand why you did it, but is that a normal thing for you?
Like, because my fight before that was in Croatia, and it was actually in my opponent's gym. So George was just like, "Oh, just act like you own the place." Am I all right swearing? By the way, it's
Yeah,
military.
yeah, yeah. We'll just,
Yeah,
yeah, it'll be all right, mate. Go for it. You've
I'm
already
from
done
the
it now.
military. It's like it's just it's how we talk. But
Yeah,
yeah. So in the Croatia fight, it was like I knew the guy was a bit nervous and he was a bit sort of antsy beforehand. So I was like, I acted like I owned the place, and then I tried to, as he was coming into the cage, like stand with my arms behind my back and face him. But the ref cleared me out of the way. I think the ref was probably on his side a little bit. It was their show, but I'm like cleared me out the way before it happened. So I was like, oh, well, that was a bit shit. But this time I thought I'll do a similar thing again. But I didn't have any like I didn't feel like I had any like intensity or fire in me at the time. It was like more the Croatia fight. I felt like I had a good level of intensity and like sort of fire, and I was ready to go. Whereas this one, I think because I made the mistake of watching George's fight in the back, so my adrenaline, like I had a prolonged period of nerves for that. The adrenaline spiked, and then I had like this sort of elation of watching George do that, and then my adrenaline like calmed down again. It was like I couldn't get any going again for the rest of the night pretty much. So I felt pretty just like I didn't really feel anything, but I just thought, fuck it. I've got some Doom soundtrack on. Like that's what I entered to, and I thought, screw it, it looks good. I'll just stare him out. It might make him antsy. It might make him come out quick. If not, it looks cool.
yeah, it definitely did. I don't know if you've watched it back, but Dan Hardy was absolutely loving it in the commentary. He was lapping it up. He couldn't get enough of it. So
Yeah. I've
definitely
watched it back
works.
like fucking 6 times or something.
Yeah,
And then I've watched the entrance a few times as well because me and George are both like proper dorks. So it was like we were both just buzzing. Like I ended a Cage Warriors fight to some Doom soundtrack. It was like Mick Gordon with his fucking big heavy, like just the heaviest bass ever. I was like, that was pretty cool. That.
yeah. So you like the Cage Warriors show then? It gets you, it's really well produced, isn't it? So I'm sure it probably gets you hyped up, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it's quite routine now, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like, um, yeah, it was good, but it doesn't make too much of a difference anymore. Um, yeah, like I like the show. It's well produced and that, but at this point, it it doesn't matter. I'm there to fight. Like, it's fucking 8 fenced up walls, a ref and an
Doesn't matter
opponent.
then, does it?
Yeah, at the end of the day.
Yeah. So are you looking to stay with Cage Warriors? And if so, is there anyone in the featherweight division that you're looking towards for a fight next that you want?
Um, it's looking very likely that we'll be staying with Cage Warriors. The next fight will be Cage Warriors. Not 100% yet. There's still little things. And I felt like that fight was that hard that I've tried to just not think about it too much this week. But I think all my fights have been really, really hard. So what I want is like a total can, like a proper whopper, one where there's no chance that I'll lose or take any damage. I want the easiest fight in the world. I want just some pillow-fisted ginger who's never trained a day in their life. That's what I want. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen. Like I just don't have luck with that kind of thing. Like all my fights have been really hard against really tough opposition. But if I could get that, I'd be buzzing.
I remember you saying that. What you said it to Elias the Bell, didn't you, in the post fight? And I thought you were just joking, but you're being deadly serious. You want an easy fight, don't you? You actually do, don't you?
Well, it's
It's fair
hard to
enough.
describe. It's hard to describe how fucking like tough being in a fight like that at the weekend is. And I've had several of those at this point. Um, no, I'll fight whoever, but ideally, I would like somewhere easy, somewhere where I can just chill, just get an easy win on a record, and I can pick up my pay and spend it on sweets.
So if they offer you Paul Hughes for a title eliminator, you're going to be like, nah, I don't want Paul Hughes.
I mean, I'd say yes because I'm a moron, but like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'd fight Paul Hughes, no problem. You know, he beat a friend of mine, James Hendon. I'd fight him. Yeah, I'd fight him in September, not an issue. But it's just I would prefer like Wes O'Neill, but
yeah.
I don't think Wes O'Neill would pass any of the safe MMA medicals at this point. Do a brain scan on him and just go, what the fuck is this?
Nothing in there.
Uh, yeah, just like whatever happens, happens.
Sure.
I'll just fight. I'll fight whoever. It'll be some tough fight, and then it'll be really difficult, and I'll get really tired, and then yeah, that's what's gonna happen. But
Yeah. It will be entertaining. I'm happy to see whoever it is, even if it's a Can or if it's Paul Hughes, I'm happy. But you have fought you fought on the European series of Bellator, didn't you?
yes,
Yes. What was that experience like fighting on like the stage as like as big as Bellator? Would you like maybe want to go back there at some point someday?
yeah, it was good fighting on a big stage like that. Definitely, like I think the goal now for me and George would be the UFC. Just no one from Middlesbrough has got there before, and if anyone does, it has to be us now. Um, well, that's probably the goal now. But yeah, it was good. It was definitely good getting the exposure. That Nathan Rose fight where because I got a really bad cut in the first round, and then it was a bit of a war afterwards. Like Bellator put a little highlight of that on Instagram, and it got like nearly 800,000 views, and it was just that was a bit of a surreal time because it's a, I mean, I still kind of am, but I was like properly a nobody at that point. So it was like I got fucking hundreds of messages and all this, so it was quite surreal. But definitely, you know, I want in the words of Uncle Chael, I want the biggest stage and the easiest fights.
Yeah. Well, we definitely know you want the easiest fights right now. But you mentioned your brother there, George. He also won in 124, didn't he? But you knock out in the second round, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
But
finished Dean Truman with
yeah.
a left hook to the liver.
Yeah. So what's it like fighting with your brother on the same card? Like, what's that experience like for you?
Uh, I don't like it, to be fair. Um, I'll just have to get used to it. It is what it is. But George is a bit of a I don't know sociopath or something like because when we fought in Bellator Milan, we both fought on the same card, and I fought first. I mean, it was structured a bit differently because they were transporting the fighters to and from the venue in like you know in a different order. So like with Cage Warriors, everyone was there from the start of the card, whereas with Bellator Milan they weren't. But like I fought first that time and I lost. And when I got to the warm up room and found George, he was getting his hands wrapped. He was like, "Oh, what happened? Oh, I wasn't even watching." Like, just he can totally phase it out. Like he's just weird. Whereas I had like adrenaline dumps and fucking yo-yoing of like emotions, dealing with George fighting before me. But I don't know if it's just because I'm older and it's like more of a big brother kind of thing, where he's kind of
Yeah.
like you're more inclined to look out for him, whereas he's just a bit of a, I don't know.
I think that definitely makes sense. That like, yeah, he's your little brother, you know. I'd feel the same way. I understand that, yeah.
Yeah, and he's a bit of a sociopath, so he can like tune that stuff out.
Yeah. You just have to think when he's fighting, like he's a sociopath. You don't need to worry about him. He'll be fine. Like
Yeah, like I knew he would be fine, but it was just one of those. It was like I was watching him in the warm up room. I was actually watching it with Paul Hughes and the Fight Academy Island lads, and then there was some of the next gen people there. But it was like actually, I had my headphones in and I was trying to like listen to music and not think about it. But it was actually watching it and talking to them and like, you know, that kind of brought my nerves. You know, that sort of brought them down a little bit
mm,
because like I had someone to talk to. And then after the first round, I was like, yeah, this is it. Like George is dominating here, and he's well on his way to finishing this.
yeah. In the future, will you maybe ask? I think Cage Warriors 100% will want to put you both on the same card. Like it's good for promotion and all that. But do you think you'll ask, like, can I like corner George like hard before or something like that?
Well, I mean, Ian Dean did give us the option with the trilogy, like have on different days, but I'm just gonna have to get used to it. Like if they keep doing trilogies, yeah. I mean, if they go back to a more regular schedule in the future, it would probably work out better as being on separate cards. It's just, it is what it is. I need to just get used to it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and your brother, I've been watching your fights, both your fights, and you like are really, really good at body shots. I know you finished a few fights with him, and so has he. And I just wondering, like, what do you attribute that to, and do you work on a lot on training throwing body shots?
I mean, we are each other's pad men. Like we're the sort of main pad. We're like almost pretty much each other's main striking coaches, if you get me. And I don't like the way we hold pads is quite, because we've held pads for each other that much. It's very sparring like, and we will have the body pad on, and that's kind of something where you can kind of just throw it in your own thing. I don't know if there's something where we both realize we fight at a higher pace. So it's like, if you can start wearing on their gas tank in every way you can, which body shots wear on the gas tank, the pace we'll fight at, the pressure we bring, like that kind of thing. And then there's the other thing, I think it's, digging each other to the head in the gym hard is not smart, and it's not good for your longevity. Whereas the body, you can hit it as hard as you want in training, really. So it's like the body and legs, we're both pretty good leg kickers and good body punchers, and you know attack the body well. I think just because year round you can be doing that. Sometimes we'll hit harder into the head in sparring when we've got fights coming up and we've got like a specific session for like, all right, this is hard sparring, this is like fight sparring. But a lot of the spars year round, it's like we really pull the shots to the head. But body shots, still pretty much fair game. If me and George have like start escalating in sparring,
Yeah,
it's usually the body shots that really escalate. It's why like both of us are quite resistant to them. Like I've never been hurt with a body shot in a fight.
hmm
Uh, like Ndoye landed a good one in the third round, and I didn't really register it too much. Like the commentator thought, I was hurt, but I was just tired. Um, and like Truman sort of landed a few good knees to George's body, but he was all right with them. Yeah, I think it's just a number of factors. And just thinking like that, it's some people don't do well in MMA, but
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if people tend to fight at a bit of a longer range than us. We both tend to force a much shorter range where they're more available. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's loads of factors.
Well, that's what I found so interesting about you two. Is like you say, in MMA, so rarely see effective body shots, but both of you, just really amazing at it. So it was just really interesting to me.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah. So with your brother, he's a weight class above you, isn't he? He's a lightweight, and is that really useful to spar with someone from a higher weight class? Because when you're fighting a featherweight, you're like, I go over lightweight like every day. This is easy.
Yeah, it's there's lots of differences as well though. Like there's a different speed and a different stuff, but it is good dealing with his strength because he's very strong for lightweight as well. Like he fought at welterweight a few times, and he actually fought as high as 180. Like his Bellator debut was at 180 pounds against Richard Kiley. So he's like he's very strong for that weight. So it's definitely good dealing with that. But I kind of like will counter his strength with pace. So it's good for him as well because he has to deal with a pace that's a lot higher than anyone at lightweight will be setting, or even like coming close to setting on him. So it is very good. We do have mint rounds. There was a point like in our amateur careers where we were a bit too similar, and our spars would be very like cancely outy. Like we'd throw stuff at the same thing at the same time, and it was our spars were a bit shit. But now we're very different, and we get really, really good spars. But like I used to be a bantamweight, and one of the reasons I moved up was I was not training with any bantamweights, and like they were too small and wriggly and fast. Whereas all my training partners, for the most part, are lightweights and welterweights. so I'm just more used to dealing with that. Like my wrestling actually got better, and my offensive wrestling and stuff got better as I moved up a weight class, just because I'm more used to dealing with people that size, if you get me. I know it sounds a bit weird, but like it makes sense in my head.
Yeah, if it makes sense to me too. Don't worry, I'm sure everyone else watching will understand as well. But you've also had a pro kickboxing match, haven't you? How did that come about?
I had 2 professional kickboxing fights.
Okay.
One was just the one with Andy Liddell, which was my first one. Because I started in Thai boxing and I was sort of like more known as a striker way back. But the one with Andy Liddell happened just because I'd sell a few tickets, he'd sell a few tickets. It was just the local promoter was like, look, it makes sense, we'll put it on. And then, so it was my debut and he was like 7-3 or something. And then that went well. And then about 6 weeks later, but I only had about 3 or 4 weeks, I fought against Leif Taggart, who another person from my end, but he's been fighting since he was literally since he could walk, and he's fought on like the Yokkao shows in Thai boxing. He had like 40 fights, and then there was just that fight was for my second professional kickboxing fight. It was for the British title for like WKO or something. I lost the decision in that one, but it was just like, what is it? Why do I only get stupidly hard fights? Just what's my problem? But so it was good experience to get those, definitely. Like the Leaf Taggart fight actually taught me one of like the strangest lessons about fighting that you don't really think about unless you're like part of it. But I was like trying to be a bit of a goody two shoes and all right, I need to get good sleep. I need to train properly and get good sleep. So I was going to bed at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, which is good. It's a healthy sleeping pattern. But the fight wasn't until like 11:30 at night. So it was like by fight time, I remember I was like warming up and I was like, oh, fucking, like I had nothing, I was working. And I was walking out and it's like, it's just such a strange thing that no one teaches you, or you never talk about really, but just like how the time of the fight can actually affect how you perform. Like I remember Pete, one of our coaches, will always say the Reza Madadi fight's one of his best performances, and then the fight after that was one of his best performances. And those fights ended up being at like 1, 2 in the morning. And he was a doorman at the time in like a rough bit of Newcastle. So he was very used to having a fight with someone at 1 in the morning on a Saturday/Sunday. So it was like, that was like his body was sort of like primed and ready to be performing at that time. So yeah, it's a strange thing that's not really like talked about, but it is a factor.
Yeah, I've never even thought of that before. Really, I'm like, fortunately fighting late at night. But if you're training, you want to be, I've got to go to bed early. Got to wake up, get a good rest. But really, you're just not ready to perform at that time.
Yeah, it's like fight
one.
week workouts are all about like, if you can find out what time you're fighting, it's like trying to do your fight week workouts at that time just to get your body used to sort of operating at that time.
Yeah. We've got a final question for you, and that's going to be about McGregor Poirier trilogy and who you've got for that fight.
I'm gonna go with Poirier again. I think McGregor, I don't think he's not a lightweight, really. I don't think he's got stopping power at lightweight. By modern weight cutting standards, he's a normal sized featherweight, really. Like, he struggles to make 170. When he's fought at 170, he'll go in about 165 pounds or something like that. And I'm like, George, who's a lightweight, went into the cage at fucking like 175 pounds on, like 10 pounds heavier than McGregor is. And you get a lot of lightweights a lot of featherweights, sorry, who are going into the cage. What McGregor went into the cage when he fought at welterweight, I just don't think he is a lightweight, really. Like, don't get me wrong, he's good, but I just don't think he's got the one shot stopping power to stop a guy like Dustin at lightweight, where Dustin's entering the cage at about 180 pounds or 183. But like, he's had years to build muscle and build on his frame and be at a proper size for that weight class. And McGregor's punching, I know Poirier was a featherweight, but McGregor's punching style really suits fighting people who are like, he's got a size advantage on. Like, he's great at punching down on people, and he's only at, like, up until the Cerrone fight, he'd never stopped anyone who had a height advantage on him. Not even like even like an insignificant height advantage, like an inch. McGregor's never stopped them in the UFC. So it's like, I just don't think he's got the size or the style to beat Poirier. I could be wrong. You know, he still hits hard. If Poirier fucks up and like squares his feet up and gets cracked, he'll go down. But I don't see McGregor having a lot of options.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good analysis of it, to be fair, because in the second fight, Poirier took all of McGregor's best shots, really, like really hard left hands, and it didn't go down like he did at featherweight. I mean, it does seem to be a big difference that is at lightweight, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he was like, that was like proper hunkered down boxing stance McGregor, where he was hitting, you know, like full power. He had good mechanics on the shots, but they just didn't seem to be phasing Poirier all that much. So I mean, we'll see how he approaches dealing with the calf kick, like, because I think everyone's saying, oh, he needs to check them, blah blah blah. But I think if you're not really good at checking, trying to check a calf kick will just make it worse. I think he needs to like manage his distance a bit better and retract his leg and get it out the way. But Poirier's at a good gym. They'll have probably anticipated what adjustments McGregor is gonna make. So yeah, I'm gonna go Poirier. I mean, I could be wrong, but I really don't see it. You know, this is a shame because if McGregor loses again, that's a lot of money that's not going into the sport. If you get, like, I think a lot of the public interest, a lot of those fans that were skirting around the edge of like giving a fuck about the sport will probably go away. So I don't think it'd be great for the sport, but I think Poirier is probably gonna beat him again.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you very much for that, Harry, mate. That's all the questions I've got. I hope in your next fight you do get an easy fight, because like you say, you do deserve it. Just please make it entertaining, and I'll be happy.
Right. Okay.
You can do that.
It won't be. I won't get given one. I'll get given some ridiculously hard fight again, but we'll see. Right. Thank you very much.
Cheers for that, Harry, mate. All right. Have a good night, man. Thank you.
Let me finish my wine.
Yeah, go for it, mate. Have a little munch on screen. Oh, beautiful. Cheers, man. See ya.